Let's move on to Africa now. New anti-government protests have kicked off in Kenya, spanning from the capital Nairobi to the southern coastal town of Mombasa. At least one person was killed as demonstrators called for the oust of President William Ruto and clashed with the police. The youth-led nationwide uprising renewed calls for systemic changes to clean up corruption and address poor governance. In the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, riot police fired tear gas at several dozen protesters. Footage showed ambulances carrying several injured people. According to Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, 50 people have been killed in the Kenyan anti-tax hike protests to date.
This is the fourth week protesting on the streets. We're still protesting because Ruto could have easily dissolved this from the first week. He would have signed off his people from the first week. He would have stepped down from the first week. But he's waited this long. All these people have died, all this life loss. And still he cannot see the bigger impact he's creating on the country.
Tuesday's protests are the biggest since Ruto withdrew the tax increases on June 26th. Violent demonstrations were seen in at least 23 of Kenya's 47 counties. In Kitengela, a town on the southern outskirts of the capital Nairobi, police in plain clothes and face masks opened fire in the direction of hundreds of protesters, some of whom were throwing rocks. The protesters burned tires and litter, waved Kenyan flags and chanted, quote, "Ruto must go." International Monetary Fund has turned a major target of the ire of young Kenyan protesters. They accused it of being the driving force behind the proposed tax hikes as a hard-pressed population reels from the rising living costs. Having scrapped the tax increases earlier, Ruto's office announced multi-sectoral talks for this week to address grievances of the protesters. But there was no sign they had begun.
We've been seeing frequent abroad trips, nothing in this country, until we started demonstrating in the streets. That's nowadays we're having president in this country. We're having our president in this country. Ruto is very much incompetent. He has no leadership skills. He just wanted the title to be the president of this country. After sending, we know like the guy is a puppet to IMF. That is it.
Bowing to the demands of the protesters, President Ruto fired nearly his entire cabinet and announced resignation of Kenya's police chief, Japheth Koome, following intense criticism of officers' conduct, use of excessive force, and abduction of dozens of people. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.